All right, for most of us, we save the best for last. The average person, when you ask them what their favorite animal is, or even if you ask them to think of an animal, inevitably what you get is a mammal. 65 million years ago, reptiles ruled the land, and then there was a giant impact which killed off most of the reptiles but allowed the mammals to flourish. And now, of course, they're one of the most diverse group of terrestrial animals. So today we're going to focus on the cute and the cuddly, and we'll talk about why they're cute as well. So, mammals have a number of characteristics that are common to all mammalia. The first of which is hair. The second of which is that young are nursed by mammary glands. Those would be the two defining characteristics. In particular, mammary glands, mammals, that's the big one. Mammals, like birds, are endotherms, and so like birds, mammals can inhabit all areas from the driest and wettest hot places like deserts and rainforests to the poles. In addition to being able to control our metabolism, mammals have the integumentary system that aids in our ability to survive in different temperatures. We have hair and subcutaneous fat to help us insulate. Our sweat glands help cool us down. Obviously, not all mammals, though, have sweat glands. Mammals also have the greatest range of motion. So as you analyze our limbs, we have the most specialized limbs, save birds, maybe. But we have highly specialized limbs to deal with our method of motion as well as our method of feeding. So if we look, we got flyers, we've got swimmers, we've got grabbers, diggers. All of us have, we call it the pentadactyl limb. Most vertebrates have it. Most terrestrial vertebrates have it, the five-fingered arm. But those are highly adapted for the mammals niche. Mammals also, of course, are some of the most intelligent animals in the world. There are exceptions. For example, cephalopods are very, very intelligent. Some of the birds, parrots in particular, are highly intelligent, despite the bird brain name. But mammals as a group are, of course, the most intelligent. That has to do with the greatest brain development. Our brains is the most folded to allow for more surface area of nerve connections. We have the biggest skulls compared to our bodies to support the soft tissue. And so we have the most brain development. Mammals have highly specialized dentition, so specialized teeth that match what we eat. Generally, my cat is obviously a cat. Cats are oblique carnivores, meaning they only eat meat, but he has a taste for Cheez-It crackers, and he only has the canine teeth of carnivores, and so consequently when he eats the crackers he makes a horrible mess. So our teeth go with what we eat. You probably learned as a kid that the herbivores tend to have flat back molar teeth that grind up our food. Carnivores have the canines that help chew our food, and whatever you eat tends to match what your teeth are. Mammals, of course, are most notable by their reproductive methods. Again, mammals are mammals because they nurse their young with milk. And we see that across the board, whether it's a human nursing their baby, giraffe, a whale, every mammal nurses its young. Well, every female mammal. Mammals are classified by how they reproduce, so the groups of mammals are based by that. We'll go through that in a minute. Mammals have internal fertilization, as everybody who has an amniotic egg do. Mammals also have amniotic eggs. We'll talk about that in a sec. And mammals have parental care. It's a process known as neoteny. So if you look, mammal babies are adorable. That's one of the reasons why humans like mammals so much. We are ingrained instinctually to think, oh my gosh, that's a cute kid. I need to care for him. We see that whether it's human children, puppies, pandas, that is what responsible for mammals being a K species, or in other words, one that has high parental care, but also high survivalship of the offspring. That big I ratio and the fact that the young behave so adorably is why mammals will care for their young despite, them being such a pain in the butt. Mammals come from ancestors that had the amniotic egg. That's part of their survival on land. And so although the reproduction of mammals has changed a bit, when we look at the development of embryonic mammals, we see that many similarities of that amniotic egg. We see the amnion, that fluid sac around the baby. In fact, you may have heard that some women, when they're pregnant, get an amniocentesis. That's the water that surrounds the baby. That when a woman says, "Oh, my water broke," that's the amniotic fluid. So we have that. The nourishment, a yolk sac versus a placenta, changes in some mammals, but we see that ancestral egg in mammals as well. When we look at the diversity of mammals, there's 3 classifications. Depending upon the book you use, they sometimes use different terms. But we have 3 groupings. The first one is monotremes, or the egg layers. Yes, some mammals do lay eggs. They have the regular amniotic egg. That includes the duck-billed platypus and the spiny anteaters. And so they have some of the characteristics that we see in the birds and the reptiles, including a cloaca. The cloaca is a one opening suits all needs for the reproductive, urinary, and digestive tracts. So they lay their egg through that cloaca as well as other stuff, and they have that beak. Then we have the marsupials. The marsupials, as hopefully you know, develop very highly immature offspring that develop in the marsupium, or the pouch. If you see the picture, the joeys that are born when they're initially born are extraordinarily tiny and incredibly dependent upon the mother. You'll notice here this joey is nursing right away from birth, even at that tiny size. Finally, the placental mammals are also called eutherians, and placentals are what you're familiar with from most mammals, including humans. So placental mammals give birth to live offspring. In other words, when we say that, they're not encased in an egg, they're not, while of course they need their mothers, they're able to survive as long as somebody can care for them. They don't need to live inside of a pouch. And they're nourished by the placenta inside the womb. So that the placenta, once again, is only for eutherians. Within the eutherians, there's a great diversity. You're not going to need to know any of this, but I just wanted to quick go through it so that you had some familiarity with the terms. So we have the insectivores. Those are the insect eaters, the moles, the shrew, the hedgehogs. We have the Chiroptera. Those are the bats, the nocturnal flyers. It's notable that very few bats actually have blood, and they certainly don't suck it. Of course, we have primates, of which we are a primate. Primates have forward-facing eyes, opposable thumbs, of course, notable intelligence. Primates include not only humans and gorillas, but also monkeys and lemurs. The great apes, the gorillas, the orangutans, and most importantly, the bonobos and chimpanzees are most closely related to humans. Xenotheria are the anteaters and the sloths. They have an extra joint in the backbone. That's how they're able to curl up. Some of them don't have teeth. They have very small brains as well. Other eutherians include the Lagomorphia. That's the rabbits and the hares. So they have the very long ears that can independently move so they can locate sound. They're herbivores. They have clawed toes. Their incisors keep growing, so that's why rabbits have to always chew on things. Otherwise, their teeth keep growing and growing and growing. What's notable, you see the terms up there, altricial and precocial. Precocial, you might have heard the term, aren't you precocious, meaning that you're beyond your years. Precocial animals can live independently of their precocial mammals, can live independently of their mothers much sooner than altricial mammals can. So we are altricial. We need to be with our parents for a long time, whereas a hare is weaned relatively quickly and can survive on its own. And that not only applies to rabbits and hares, but across the mammals. Rodentia, of course, are the rodents. The herbivores have long, curved incisors. They too have to continue to eat because their incisors continue to grow. So beavers, mice, squirrels. Cetia are the dolphins and the whales. Their most notable characteristics probably their echolocation. Well, besides living in water, of course, they have the echolocation. Echolocation is found in bats too, where they send out that signal, kind of like radar, and it bounces off of something, and they're able to sense how long it takes to come back in order to find things underwater. Of course, they have the reduced hind limbs, the torpedo shape for effective swimming, and of course, the blowhole on the top. It's notable to note that there's two kinds of whales. The toothed whales are the ones that are like dolphins, so like orcas and dolphins and porpoises. The baleen whales have like the strainers for teeth. That would be like the humpback whales. Carnivora would, of course, be carnivores, although they're not all carnivores. Some of them are omnivores. They're notable by their sharp teeth, the fact that they're top predators, the bears, the wolves, the foxes, the cats. Pinnipeds are a subgroup of carnivora. Pinnipeds are the sea lions, the walruses, and things like that. Notable, sea lions have flippers that can face forward and external ears. Seals do not. Very notable are the proboscidea. Those are, of course, the elephants with the gigantic ears. The ears are very large so that they can use them to help cool themselves. Obviously, their trunk is their size are the other very notable characteristics. Most proboscidea are keystone species, meaning that they have a larger than normal impact on their environment. Sirenia would be the manatees. They are basically sea cows. Usually live mostly off of the coast of Florida, are basically herbivores that kind of float there. They're heavily impacted by boat traffic. They're really suffering with that. And gigantic paddle-like forelimbs. The last two groups of eutherians are Perissodactyla and Artiodactyla, in other words, the ungulates. Both of them are hoofed. The difference is the number of toes that they have determines their ancestry. So some have an odd number of toes. For example, a horse, for example, has the one fused toe. Tapirs have three. And Artiodactyla are ungulates that have even number of toes. So we would see cattle, giraffes. Giraffes have the two. And so it has to do more with their ancestry. Both groups are primarily herbivores with horns. They're ruminants, which means that they eat grass, but because the grass has a lot of cellulose, they have a multi-chambered stomach as well as bacteria in their stomach that helps them digest the grass. So they're the last group of eutherians, and that's the last group of mammals. And I know you didn't need to know the last three slides, but I find it super interesting, and hopefully you do too.